My name is Mauricio Chernovetzky, and I am the director of Sacrificios. Sacrificios is a different kind of film. It's a kind of film, it's about grief and loss and love, and it's about an impossible situation. A father loses his child, and the film asks what is he capable of doing to bring him back.
What inspired you to write this film?
It's got several layers of inspiration. I think one of them was, and as I say in the film at the end, it is a film that is dedicated to my father. And I think as I grew older, I began to understand the sacrifices he made for me. But I also understood another side to the story, a darker side, which is, how much is somebody willing to destroy themselves for love? It's a very, in a way, disturbing, but I think a very universal part of the human condition. And I wanted to kind of take this to the extreme. I asked myself, with a father like this, what would he be capable of doing for me? And I think it's a film that talks a lot about, obsession. But I think it's one of those things where you kind of want to see both sides of things. It's a film that embraces contradictions, and it's a very interior film, especially for a horror film, very emotional. In our premiere here at Raindance, we were all crying, including myself. My father was in the audience, and I teared up, and I realized, wow, I don't know, I've never seen a horror film that makes you cry, So it's that kind of film. It's uncomfortable, it is disturbing, but it's kind of a film about a wound, this loss. And instead of using it as a kind of device for a narrative, the film really plunges into that experience. So it's a very subjective film. It becomes very hypnotic, hallucinatory, and we really get to delve into this man's psyche. And in order to do that, of course, we don't have him just in a room, sitting there. We explore these unbelievable spaces. He goes out to sea. We have these uninhabited islands that we filmed in. We have these caves that he goes into for, pre-Hispanic caves that were shot in Mexico. Where rituals are still being done today, and so the film is charged with mysticism, with all the layers of his own culture. His Catholic aspects, the Hispanic aspects, and at the core of it is the presence of this Aztec god, which is Mictlantecuhtli, the lord of the underworld, the god of death, a god that demands sacrifice. And I was really connected to this figure, reconnected with Mexico. I came back to Mexico after living abroad for a long time. Just something grabbed me, and I said, I need to explore this idea, because I think archetypally, there's this mysterious, life is very mysterious for me, and as is nature, as is storytelling, and this is what I wanted to do with this film. I wanted to give myself an opportunity to tell a very pure story, and cinematically to really use form in an interesting way. Well, initially, of course, it's an interesting question, because the film exists in between worlds. So there's aspects of it like the ocean, the caves. I wanted it to not, we don't know what time, it's kind of timeless, so we don't know what time we're in. We're in a strange perpetual dawn, But in terms of the color schemes, we're very focused on specific colors. They're almost like realities that kind of are kind of marked by certain colors. So there's an element of there's white, there's red, and there's blue, and I think you can see that these things kind of contrast with each other, like these primary colors and the way they contrast, which is a lot of things that go into making the film. And I'm of the school of really thinking about all those details and building something that actually works on all these levels. So I hope we achieve that.
With the music, what did you do in terms of music?
Yeah, the music is unique. I met an expat from California living in Mexico City who used to be a pretty big music producer, and we've been talking about making scores for films. We've worked on these smaller projects, and it was a very collaborative process, although of course he's extremely talented. We wanted, again, not to be too on the nose. you know, to explore possibilities that go beyond the horror genre, and to create juxtaposition sometimes with music. So there's aspects of strings, there's aspects that are a little bit more almost electronic and strange and dirty. And so it's a beautiful mix, and I'm hoping to actually release the score soon.
And the sound design?
And the sound,
What do you do for that?
the sound designer Omar Juarez Espino, who works in Mexico City, is extremely passionate and talented. Again, we worked very closely with him too. You know, it was always a balance between making sure the film really packed a punch, like a movie, like a genre movie should in a way, but then it was also about being more restrained and more singular, you know, in the approach to sound. It was very important that we didn't, you know, for me, all those elements, the cinematography, the music, the sound, the performance, the spaces, I wanted to make sure that it was a unique experience, you know, and that it isn't just a movie. Like, oh, we made a movie, we made a horror movie, we made a psychological. No, this is its own experience, and in order to do that, you have to actually go out there, go to these caves, go to the ocean, go to this island, and in the same way, working with these individuals, it was always about going the it was never about just letting them go somewhere. It was really about being with them, experiencing the process. Because I think filmmaking can be very process driven, and I love that about it. It's also an adventure, and I like the idea that if you're with the right collaborators, you don't really, you don't know what you're gonna get. You have to be open to surprises. That's also the case with my co-writer, who isn't Mexican, but it's someone I work with closely, and I told him the whole story because it came to me very quickly. And he said, you know what, you have the film. This sounds great. I go, no, I want you to come in. You will somehow, something we do together will make it better. And so his name's Alexander Yoshua, and he's an incredible collaborator. Not only did I kind of bring him in for the script, but I also brought him in during the whole process, because I understood at some point that this film wasn't typical, and so I kept in a way writing with the movie and with him to the very end. So there's even things that happened to me as we had a final cut, and I had this dream where I realized the film can't end the way it ends. It's like I just felt it. I felt this film is about something that is so eternal, and this obsession this man has. If we ended like this, it's going to be a kind of betrayal to the subject. And I mean, obviously that was more analytical. In the dream, it came very clearly. I saw the ending, and I told him and said, well, let's figure it out. And so for me, the collaboration is very important, and it's also very important to kind of listen to things that go beyond imposing things, like the strategy of making a movie for the industry, and that's why I was so thrilled to be invited to premiere, to have the European premiere here at Raindance, because Raindance celebrates and champions independent filmmaking. It makes perfect sense to be here. It's a wonderful festival, and it's truly a pure experience with people that are passionate and care about the film itself. We're in a moment of transition in the world, in everything. Everything is topsy-turvy and confusing, but I think storytelling is incredibly important. And I think it's important to break away from the molds, that society has made for us, expectations, because I think if we're aligned with ourselves, deeply aligned with ourselves, we'll be able to tell purer stories, and those stories will connect, with people. And it's scary sometimes because everybody tells you, well, how are you going to make money? How are you going to sell your film? And those are important questions, but I think if we don't have resilience, if we don't really draw from our imagination, what are we doing? I think we have to take those risks.
And what advice would you give to actors when they're auditioning or on set?
Well, obviously every director casts differently. In my case, I had a situation with a 4-year-old kid, and they brought four kids to audition, and 3 of them were so well behaved. They've been in television, they've been in commercials, they delivered their lines, they did it really nicely. And the one kid who refused to say his lines, but he just looked at me with a certain intensity, that's the one I chose. Right? And
Why?
Because I was, again, I'm not thinking about pleasant for me. I'm not thinking about making my life easier. I'm thinking about how his presence is going to be felt, you know, in the movie. And I think it was the right choice. I'm convinced, although it wasn't easy because it was very challenging. And he changed the story. I mean, he changed the story because there's things he wouldn't do, there's things he would do. But whenever he was there, whenever he was present, it gave the film a completely different dimension. And so it's like, I think it's important to be aware of that stuff as well, you know. And with the lead, Jorge Jimenez, who's an unbelievable actor, I chose him. I mean, he does a lot of work and he's incredibly, you know, rigorous. But it was also, he's very internal, and when he's on set, he's very quiet. He sticks, you know, he kind of leaves the group. And a lot of people are thinking, well, what's wrong with him? But no, he's in that space. And I think that this film in particular required actors that had that kind of intensity and that kind of focus. And he did an incredible job. He's the anchor of the story, and he's restrained, so he's not at all like you know, like a melodramatic or like in Mexico, like a telenovela, like a soap opera. He's the very opposite, you know, and you read all the emotions in his eyes. I mean, he's really going through this intense experience. And, you know, at some point in the film, in one of the most difficult scenes, he looked at me and he says, "Why do you write these things?" But I think ultimately he's very, very proud of the work. He won an award at the Festival in Chile recently. And I think it's the kind of film that we all were very pure in the making of this film. And so I think in this case, that's what I needed. I needed a team of people who all could approach their work with that same level of passion and purity and integrity. And I'm really, really proud of it.